Welcome to Get It Done Entrepreneurs, where we talk with founders of companies who bet on themselves and won. My name is Rich LeBrun, and I am the founder and CEO of LeBrun Advisory Group. You can find us at rlebrun.com. Our mission is to help our clients build wealth through business ownership. Stick around to the end of the show and we'll reveal how you can be our next guest. Our special guest today is Michael Kelly. Michael is the founder of Investment Science, a management and technology consulting firm. Mike brings over 10 years of multiple industry experience, ranging from startups to established enterprises, applying his technology skills and his business expertise to drive growth, increase revenues, and achieve corporate goals. He has a deep expertise in the financial industry, spanning hedge funds and major financial institutions, and implementing technology solutions to improve processes, cut expenses, and support growth initiatives. His energetic and strategic business development initiatives have landed him such clients as Israel Discount Bank, which is an international bank with over 180 locations, Fitch Solutions, a leading provider of credit and debt market, and Macro Intelligent Data, and CTI, Citi, as an international investment bank. He is a certified Agile Master, a Scrum Master, and a Scrum Product Owner by Scrum Study. Lastly, Michael is a college professor at Baroo College, where he teaches a master's level in applied data science course in Python. Michael lives with his family in Long Island Beach, New York. And with that said, welcome, Michael, to the show.
Hi, Rich. Thanks for having me on the show. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm really glad you joined us, and I'm always grateful for our guests who take time out of their busy day to share their wisdom with our listeners. But we always start our show wanting to know who you are, what's your story, how did you get into business? You know, a lot of people were forced into starting their own business. Some did have a passion or hobby or family inheritance. But what's your story, Michael? How did you become an entrepreneur, and how did you start your company? And tell us a little bit about the background there.
Sure. So in 2009, during the financial crisis, when I was 19, I was trying to analyze everything around me to say, like, how can we prevent this? So I built a product all the way back then. It's now called Sage Fusion. So as of right now, it's an AI treasury management platform. But back then, it's saying, how can we create products so that there's no more financial panics? How do we create loan structures so people don't have to put any money down? How do we ensure that? 10 years later, through the course of building out that software, we launched a consulting practice. Um, and then it's from building out that software, we're able to have objective advice going into corporations, ranging from government agencies, banks, financial institutions, technology firms, educational institutions, and just provide our opinions and things like that. So over the course of just the corporate structure of, COVID, 2009 financial crisis, it's really a study of economics, of what causes bubbles, what causes prices to rise, how can we help all aspects of life, rich, middle class, and poor, to try to help everybody around us. That's really sums up
What,
how he
what was
built
your what
everything up.
was your background?
My background, back in 2009, or just right now?
Well, you kind of jumped into a pretty sophisticated level of finance, coupled with technology. Did you have that dual training in schooling, both technology and finance?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I wrote a lot of code, probably at the age of 6, just always coding things, and it always did well in school regarding financial models and finance. So I positioned myself back then to say, we know business, we'll shake a hand, we'll put on a suit if we need to, sign a contract, but we can also write code to automate, and we understand what you're saying. And That has served me quite well all the way back then and even right now, because there's not a lot of people that know both business and code. Although what I've been seeing is I think programming is becoming less relevant. Drag and drop software, no code programming, the AI bubble that we're in right now. It's always kind of the herd mentality of people just diving into things without fully understanding or even the risks in each area, because you're seeing a lot of copyright infringement, GDPR laws being violated by AI, but then there's also enhancements on that. But I also don't always like to talk about that topic because there's always new corporate buzzwords every year or two.
Yeah,
It changes. Whatever happened to
yeah,
the
yeah.
metaverse? Everybody was talking about that years ago. I don't hear about that anymore.
Isn't it? Um, so you're a very analytical guy. So this is an analytical question. Looking back when you first started your company, obviously you're like every entrepreneur who decides to open up the doors and start a business. There are some things that you did in the past that maybe that things that you know today you would be telling yourself to do differently back then.
Yeah, well, I think in the beginning stages of business, I ran it too much like an academic project, like what mathematical models drive financial markets. But I didn't focus on revenue. I really was just creating ideas, reading a lot of books. So on the positive side, you're well versed in multiple topics to be able to talk about multiple things. On the downside is um, you don't want to overly focus on money. And this sounds odd because I did work in banking for quite some time. You do want to have some type of, foundational goal that you're focused on. And then you also want to have some type of way to monetize that. But you do too much of either side, it creates an imbalance in life and it could create catastrophe. You have a business with no revenue, you're going to go out of business if you're trying to be overly caring for everybody. If you have a business that's overly focused on revenue and you view people as numbers, people are going to catch on to that. They don't want to do business with you. People like to work with people they like. But some of the lessons learned, if we pivot back to that, are just, I didn't really learn this until going to business school on this, but more of like a beachhead strategy. How do we penetrate a market the quickest manner, the easiest path? And a lot of people don't know that you're supposed to have more than 500 interviews before you even start a business. I didn't know that back then.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, nobody ever talks about that, but you're supposed to do that, have all these personas, know who you're talking to. And then it's also be very careful in who you work with. The more people you bring into your network, the higher probability of, let's say, bad actors or things not going well or people not getting along. On the downside, if you don't talk to enough people, you can't do business all by yourself. So again, another example of a balance between the two. Don't be too extreme on either side.
Yeah, good advice. Now you obviously landed some pretty big accounts, and so you've done something right. You've got the attention. Obviously, you worked for hedge funds and major financial institutions. What are some of the decisions that you did make that you really catapulted you to your success?
I tell people, like, when you're interacting with others, you can't substitute domain knowledge. Like you either know the knowledge or you don't. So if you're talking financial services, you should know front, middle, back office, how money flows, how it's created, speak about technology. Um, know how to interact with different personalities, right? If somebody's very, has like a dominant personality, they like to be in charge, take a step back a bit, let them drive, but try to influence them, make it their idea. So it's really knowing how to interact with people, even though writing code for banks, you're dealing on average with people who are not as social. They want to just write code and not be around people. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a little
good.
interesting.
Yeah. It's always that soft stuff that people forget, meaning the people. How to interact
Yeah.
with people who work for you or clients that you're trying to obtain. Absolutely. But I'm so fascinated about your world of mixing data. Like you mentioned some data analytics, which I think are very fascinating. Of watching, how to all about bubbles. people talk about bubbles all the time, but really don't understand how they form and how they, burst and all the inner workings within that bubble. I think that's pretty fascinating. So I imagine, but you also but you help companies implement, here in processes, cut expenses, and support growth initiatives. Do you do that through your data analytics, or is that just more leadership management,
It's a
or
mix of
both?
both. Like you go into an organization and you look at people in the room and you'll see people not getting along, and most companies will try to fire them. It's like this isn't as much of a concept as it is today because of post-COVID world of many people still being remote. But when everybody was in the office, it's even recommending some people can work remotely and their productivity shoots up. Or you just move people between departments not getting along. You write code to automate stuff. I mean, if you get rid of people in corporations, I think as long as this person is trying their best and they're an honest, kind individual, you should give them as much notice as possible and try to refer them into a different position that may be a better fit. I think that is corporate responsibility in this day and age. And we need to be a little less transactional and more relationship based, humanitarian based, but still focus on some type of revenue to pay for all these things.
Okay. So you come into my company and you look at our processes and expenses. Your data, maybe I'm making a bigger thing out of it is, but since you have market data, wisdom, you have probably internal data, corporate data, and then you have this soft stuff, the leadership management. Do you meld all that together to help a company not only that it look inwardly and maybe rearrange some of their infrastructure or their organizational chart, but also you know how to navigate the market? Okay, and also and that helps make those decisions about what they need to do internally. Do you do all that?
Well, we try to do is I just say the four pillars of business. Most people don't have all four. You need sales, you need banking relationships, you need attorneys, and don't forget government. That's what I've been spending most of my time now is more doing government contracting on building financial models for international trade agreements. So it's kind of interesting that whole technology career. I don't write as much code as I used to. I'm dealing more with people, and it's helped my soft skills and helped me help others around me and uh, learn about how to do things. So, for example, a lot of people don't know that if you have a small business, workforce services, government will give 50K per student for equipment to work. I've had some mentors tell me government's never going away. So you might as well know how to use them. So intertwine those four things and you're unstoppable. It's just trying to find the right people between those components that are going to work together.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, that's going to perfect lead into this commercial break because our listeners are want to know if they are a potential customer for you. So maybe explain who your customer is so they can determine if that's them or not, and promote anything else that you desire to promote about your company. This is your time for your commercial break. Michael, it looks like you froze up.
Oh, yeah. So just, yeah,
Okay.
our ideal clients really are decision makers across financial institutions, right? So you could be CEO, CTO, CIO, CFO at the very top. You could be a middle manager in the corporate world. You could be across academia. I've taught college at both Baruch's financial engineering department and Yeshiva University on creating pitch decks and integrating that with AI models. So how do we raise capital and use technology to do mass outreach? Uh, it's being able to understand our ideal client and what they want. It's not about us, it's about you. What do you need? We're really focused more right now on alternative finance. So a lot of people don't know if you have a patent, you can do a bond offering on a patent if you have no revenue. I'm building out a product right now, data technology product. You could get loans on your data with no revenue.
Hmm.
Super fascinating. And not a lot of people talk about these things, you know? It's almost like a small number of people know these things. And a lot of what I do now is more strategic partnerships, public-private partnerships, meeting people who can do construction for large, you know, mixed enterprises, new roads, bridges, homes, um, meeting people who want to invest in various projects ranging from our own product, Sage Fusion, which is an AI treasury management platform, down to various construction projects around the world that if they wanted to get involved, and then we could set up, if they're international, more the XM Bank, which is really set up. A lot of people don't know about this. When a lot of the international companies were almost taking over the corporations through communism. So government created advanced insurance products for exporting American goods, which is more from the Bretton Woods Agreement, peace through trade. So we're trying to just set up a lot of relationships between companies. Or another thing we spend a lot of our time on now is the strategic growth. Two people applying to loans, we match them to do consulting together. I don't know of anyone that's doing that today.
You match people, say that again, so I could be clear.
Let's say there's a CEO of a construction firm. They're applying for a loan. You have a CEO of a cement company. He's applying for a loan. With both of their permissions, we'll match them to work together on top of that. And one of them could get financing for the other and help the other and do a JV. They're international, we'll insure it for them too.
Pretty fascinating. Yeah. That's something very
I
unique.
just saw a need for it, and I'm like, nobody's doing this. Why? It's very simple.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Both have a common goal, raise capital, and then obviously they're doing raising capital for a reason to build their business, which they complement each other. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. So you got your eye to the market. You got all the data expertise to figure out what bubbles and not bubbles, and this whole thing about AI, which is just fascinating altogether. In fact, let's just take a second. Let's talk about AI. Is that you said Sage Fusion? This is about AI. Did I write that down correctly?
Back in 2009, by the way. So a lot of our stuff, I used to tell people I couldn't even find Python programming roles like in corporate my first few years. Like a lot of the stuff that we did was about 10 years ahead of everybody else. So we tend to predict trends a decade before they'll happen, but you need to time these things to maximize profitability. But with AI, some of the issues are copyright infringement. Do these companies out there own the data? Did they pay for the data? Are they following GDPR laws of how we collect data? There's a certain percentage that are not. There's a lot of government regulation. On the positive side, some of this AI is making it easier for automation. On the downside, some people are getting replaced by AI. So what do we do with more displacement in the workplace? You're even seeing technology not doing that well. Believe it or not, through AI, a lot of the cloud divisions of companies are laying off right now. So that's probably part of the reason why I moved more to international trade finance. These are face-to-face meetings, signing contracts with lawyers. I think AI could augment that. I don't think it will completely replace it. But the mathematics of AI have been out since the 70s. So I don't know why everyone's acting like everything's there. I think it just gotten easier to use. Even Shiny R, I think it's been out 2014, 2015. I first used it. Could have been out way before then, but it was hard to use. And then, you know, when the whole ChatGPT thing came out, everybody got all fired up. But then there's also negative posts in media saying, are these companies profitable enough? The corporations have incentives to pay for it because they get a lot of stuff for free. And it's so expensive to maintain that data. And do they even own the data? So it's the constant war of business, tug of war with the AI. And I taught masters and undergrad level on AI. But it's first focusing on the business. What question are you solving? If you don't have the business domain knowledge, AI is not going to do anything for you.
You don't know the questions to ask.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You need to know what to ask, but it's just, it's an interesting
I
world.
think it's fascinating to watch it. Who knows where it's shake out? Obviously it's come down to the consumer level. ChatGPT, you know, I can buy that for free, get it for free or whatever. So we get to pretend like we're playing in the big games. But it's fascinating to watch, and I have no idea where it's going to go. I'll be watching your trends and seeing what you're thinking because you're closer to the subject matter, which leads me into this next phase of our segment of our podcast. Looking forward, as obviously someone who follows trends and tries to predict. In my lifetime, I've seen every one of the economic turmoil matters that we're experiencing right now. I've seen inflation, I've seen labor shortages, I see supply chain issues, wars, all that in my lifetime. But I've never seen them all together as we've seen them in the last 2-3 years happening all. Now they may have been there. I just haven't seen them really playing out. So now they're all on front stage. They all seem to be maybe working against each other. Who knows? But you lead a company, you consult companies. Do you see this as a time for you as your company to grow? Is there a great opportunity because of these things? Is this time to retreat or maybe just time to sit on the sidelines? How are you perceiving all this for your own company?
Well, even outside of, I mean, we always kind of do the opposite of everybody. It served us well, but the average company, before we talk about our company, most companies now, because of an election year, almost shut down from now until December. We get into seasonality of people, the whole summer shuts down, November, December in finance, and then an election year, it's even worse. So I think generally speaking, corporations are pausing, waiting for election outcomes because either party that wins, there are implications in certain industries and sectors that will do good or bad depending on who's winning in office. And me personally, I'm not too much into politics, even though I work with a lot of people in that area. It's more the mathematical models of financing and learning how we use the tools in front of us that I spoke about before, like the XM Bank or Workforce Services to get interns almost for free through the government. And then our company is really focused a lot more on government right now, of just working with people, teaching them how to build out advanced financial mechanisms that most people aren't aware of. So alternative finance arrangements, but then I still have a lot of relationships with the banks from working in banking to create the finances. So I would tell people, really depends on your industry, right? Some people are industry agnostic, or their seasonality impacts you have to look at, right? We're in summertime, but generally speaking, we spoke about this a couple of years ago, at least in Manhattan. A lot of commercial real estate would be converted to residential. I think that's holding true. We also said, and a lot of people predicted this, COVID would last longer than everybody was predicting because we're basing off the Spanish flu data. And unfortunately, economy goes in waves. I mean, we're seeing kind of similar to the 70s, even though I wasn't born then. That's in our book that we're writing. Keep changing the name of the book, but I'll disclose the name of the book once it's finished, probably another 3 to 6 months. But that talks about financial history, down to when Nixon first went to China, down to the dollar not being backed by gold, down to a lot of the outsourcing that's occurred in corporate. What are the skill sets people need today, consumers and corporations, to excel in life? And that's what that focuses on.
Well, on that note, when you get your book, come back on the show and we'll help promote it for you,
Sure.
if that would be helpful to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Every one of these things that we're facing in the market happen all the time. It's just more accentuated because we're all together. Labor shortage has never been an issue, never not been an issue, whether it's a good market or a bad market, it's still got labor. AI is changing the labor pool. Who knows what the hell that shakeout's going to be, right? I was just listening to a talk show on a business show saying the senior population is coming back into the market for labor
Nice.
because, yeah, well, they can't afford the
Oh, that's not
inflation.
nice. Yeah, that's not nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it's interesting, it's because of inflation, they are coming back, which are going to take some jobs away from another segment of the population. So very interesting times. All right, last but not least, you are family man, you have to get up every Monday morning. You got to get yourself ready to go, lead the charge for your company and your family. And any type of advice or things that you do use mentors? Do you have certain physical workout routines? What kind of things do you do to keep yourself focused to lead?
Yeah, I usually go surfing, even in the wintertime, swimming, surfing early in the morning, uh, vitamins, exercise when I can. I wish I would do it a bit more. I have mentors in all different sectors and ages. So I would say diversify the age group, right? On average, younger people tend to know some of the newer things that some of the older people don't know, but some of the older people have so much wisdom across all
Mhm.
areas of life. So I always say, partner with all those different age groups, find out what personalities are going to work together, and you combine the four pillars of business we just spoke about, you just set yourself up to success.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Thanks for that wisdom. Michael, how can people get a hold of you should they want to utilize your services or just have another conversation to see if they are a match for you?
Sure, if they need help with consulting, they could go to www.investment, one word, scy.com. Give us a call at 917-512-9523. Or if you need help with treasury management, go to www.sagefusion.co. And thank you so much for having us on your podcast.
Well, you're welcome. And again, I never want to take for granted our founders who are willing to be a guest on our show, taking time out of their busy day to share this type of wisdom that we can't really hear elsewhere. So you were a wealth of knowledge in an area that I know many people don't know about, and sure can be utilized to help them grow their companies. So I want to say thank you again, and I hope you have a great day. This show will be on all our podcast platforms in about 2-3 weeks, as well as our YouTube station. So you'll be able to hear Michael's discussion, and all this information will be captured in the show notes as well. So Michael, I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You too, Rich.
Rich LeBrun here. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Get It Done Entrepreneurs. If you are a successful business owner who would like to be on this program, please visit us at rlebrun.com/podcast and fill out the form, and we will reach out to you. If you got something out of this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on the socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag GetItDoneEntrepreneurs. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, rlebrun.com, or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time.